traveling within the history of the world, we can find examples of spirituality that involves everything from magic, spirits, gods and goddesses, and seers, or people said to be able to talk to the dead. We all have our belief systems and we all have our own truths. So come sit with Holly Jenkins and myself as we talk about all that and more. Welcome to Spiritually Paranormal. Well, hello. This has been weird. I went on and I was just quickly talking to Holly because somehow or another we got erased. And I was like, where is the stream I posted? Because I always post it on Sunday or Monday. And it was just gone. So, and somehow I looked into Sean and he was actually testing his system. So I don't know what went on because I really didn't get on the computer this morning.
Oh, that's too bright.
Weird day. Really weird day.
It has been a crazy day. I went out of my usual routine to do a live on TikTok and did a little quick painting on TikTok. And by the time I got done and I was out running errands for work, it was 11:30.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, we started Mercury retrograde today. Yesterday, Venus was in retrograde. We have on the
Venus is still in retrograde.
Okay, so you got two then in retrograde. Then we have the super blue moon on the 30th of this month.
Yeah.
And there was something else too, Storm said, and I don't remember what
Hold
it was.
on, I'll tell you. Give me 2 seconds. I'm pulling it up. We are, this is still August. We're not in September yet. So Pluto is in retrograde until October 11th. Saturn is in retrograde until November 4th. Neptune is in retrograde until December 6th. Venus is in retrograde until September 4th. So that's coming out soon. And yeah, now today we have Mercury who has joined the retrograde party. Woo!
Yeah.
And on the 29th, just before that blue moon, Uranus goes in retrograde. Or Uranus.
That's what we're going to feel like by the time we come out of it.
All of our S's are going to be retrograde.
Oh my God. Hi Sherry, hi Cookie, hi Jessica. It's just, yeah, that's a lot. Hi Joyce. I was shocked though when and I'm like, what the heck? And actually, I didn't wake up. Well, I went to bed at 10, but couldn't fall asleep till last time I looked at it was like a little after 2:30, and I woke up this morning, and actually the only reason I woke up was someone was calling me, and I was like, oh, what time is it? I'm like, who the heck's calling me at 8 o'clock in the morning? No, it was 10. So I got up, and then I just didn't feel like staying up. I just collapsed across the bed, and I said, well, let's see what's going on in down south. And I'm like, Georgia, yeah. On my mind.
Oh, this week has been weird for me because I finished, wait, did I do it Monday? No. I must have done it Friday. I don't remember. Plus, I painted my living room and dining room on the weekend.
That looked really cool. I like the blue on the. I did that.
It looked good, didn't it? That looked good. I was so worried. It was either going to be absolutely terrible or it was going to be great. Thank God it was great because I was like, oh, I do not want to repaint it again.
In the home I built, it's way too big. There was reasons for me leaving it as well. But I had one of the rooms, I had painted what they called sunset over the mountains, I think it was. And it was like a really beautiful but deep orange. And then on the walls, I painted them like a sherbet orange color. Not really super light, but not really, kind of in the middle. Oh my God, it looked beautiful. And I had put wainscoting into the walls, and it was all that soft maple. Oh my God, it was beautiful. And then I did my bedroom had red. like not, it was kind of a burgundy, barn red. That's what it was. It was a barn red. And then I did the walls gray and it looked great. I loved it.
Well,
Yours looked fabulous. I really like the way it looked. It
yeah.
does it differently, you know?
I am. Every time I go home, I'm just like staring at my ceiling now. I love my ceiling. I just love it so much. And then, so Friday, I wrote a story about a bear family who shares the story of the dream catcher. A little bear cub has a nightmare. Mama bear weaves a dream catcher and tells them a little story. And it's not and well, different cultures have different tales of the first dream catcher. So this is just a whole nother version having to do with a bear family. And it was so cute. And I got it all done at the last second on Friday, but I was doing DIY. So then I published it yesterday. So or Monday, that is. Good Lord. And so then today I decided to do the painting. How do I flip my camera? Oh no, it went away. I'm back.
Just pick up the picture and show it to me.
Oh,
in front of the camera.
Let me turn around.
There you go. Grrr. Look how cool that is, guys. That is really cool. It actually kind of has that.
It's small, but it's 16 by 20.
Yeah, I like it.
He's watching you.
Well, I've made peace with the little people, so I'm good right now. So the bear can stare at me all he wants. And I showed you the one I'm working on. So
yes, I love it. I love those colors as well.
We've been kind of busy, I guess. I've actually this week, well, even though it was just, like I kind of started the week on Sunday. And I've been trying to finish up pieces that I had going on. So I laid all the glaze out on the new pots that'll be heading to the kilns this weekend. So that'll be done. And I'm trying to finish things so I can start new, right? And then I started the painting. And I basically kind of unplugged. I did go on TikTok a little bit last night because I had sent you that message. That was crazy what you sent me.
That was an intense speech, wasn't it? She was.
Yes, it was.
She was hot.
I'm telling you, everybody that's listening right now or in the future, we need to stand up against these billionaires and these white billionaires and companies that are pretty much holding us hostage over a lot of things culturally and health care, everything.
Yeah, and everybody better start painting your roofs blue.
Yep, and I think you better be kind of standing up. I'd like to see more young people come in. There's that one gal, she's in the House of Representatives for Texas, and I can't remember her name, but she's a fireball. She's been in there about 4 years, and I caught one of her speeches. She went after Chase Bank executive. I mean, like called him in. I don't know what the case was, but they were in front of a board, like a House board. They had senators and they were investigating something. And this guy that's the CEO or owns Chase Bank, he's a billionaire times over and over. And she was throwing out to him, this gal is paid like $8.75 an hour to work full time at his bank as a teller at his, and she said, do you know how much that is a week? And he's like, well, no. And she's like a math whiz. Plus, she does everything. She's got it there. She was shooting him down. So she goes, so now after she went through this whole scenario, she asked him, so, okay, well, what's the problem? He says, well, she doesn't have enough money to, she's 575. He goes, I think maybe she should save better. She says, no, I don't think so. I think you should start.
How could you possibly save making that little bit of money? You're not even surviving.
They're not, I mean, that's not even minimum wage. And minimum wage I get, it is up from when I was a kid because I only got like $3.75 an hour when I worked.
I think my first job was $3.35, but because I worked the second shift, I got a dime more, so it was $3.45 an hour.
And we lived on that. And actually, Jane Wilcox had posted on her wall the other day about how we need to, as a nation, allow our children and our young people to get college education on a level like some of the other countries do. The Asian countries, they don't pay unless they're come to here. They pay, and they're also, their kids are in like grade school, high school. They're in year round. They don't have a summer off. And it's like they look at things different. And it's like I said to Jane, I said, you can say that. I mean, because some people are kind of pissed that the government isn't like helping with education. And I said, well, you got the wages.
The government is trying to kill us.
Well, it is.
They
but
literally
you also
are.
got to think. I says
they want to reduce the population.
I said you can go back. Oh yeah, I believe that 100%. Don't even get me started with that. But my dad in the 1940 is when he married my mom. They bought a house. He lived on $25 a week. 3 kids. Well, no, actually 4 kids, and my mom and my dad. Plus paid the mortgage out of that a week. Plus paid insurance, car, gas, food, and whatever on $25 a week. And they did it. I mean, and they were in a beautiful neighborhood. It was a new house, and it was beautiful. But I said, sometimes you do have to look, because things cost more now. I mean, even a loaf of bread. I like picked up a rye bread the other day, and I was like, oh my God, it's like $3 for a loaf of bread, right? So,
and that's cheap.
Yeah,
that's cheap for a loaf of bread right now.
I'm just over it all. So yeah, that's I think, and it was bad that I watched it last night on TikTok because it got me fired up, and then it was after midnight, and so that kind of came in with retro Mercury, and I'm like, oh, I gotta leave that. So I've been unplugging, and that's what I did this morning. I just unplugged, and that's why I was like, oh my God, it's time. And I was sitting in there listening. Do you remember Kellen Watson? We had her on the shows.
I can't remember.
She was a musician. Oh my God, I love her. Talked to her this past November. She's now married. She has 2 little children. She's very happy, and she still does her music, but not the way she did prior, because she's got like a bunch of albums. So that was cool. But yeah, awesome. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, just like in the weeks past and this week, you know how I used to do so much content. Yep. I had my daily video. I had my daily card videos. Then I did probably did 10 or 15 videos a day on TikTok as well. And I've gone down to hardly anything. And it's like every time I pick up that phone to record something, Spirit is saying, no, keep your mouth shut. You're like, right now it feels like we're not here. We're here to watch what's happening, but not necessarily, and I hate to say it this way, but not really participate. Be a part of it. Like that is happening on a different dimension than where we're supposed to be, where we are. So we're supposed to just watch it. We're not supposed to I don't know. That's the feeling, and it's weird to me because I'm not that way. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to do some stuff.
I actually had a discussion in a group that I have, and they were like, they get like visions, and I've had them. And actually what's really scary for me is I'm watching them happen on the news, like Hawaii, the water, the fire. I'm seeing things, and I have for years. And they said, what do you do with it when it's so big that you can't do anything about it? I said, you just have to know that it's coming. So it's kind of validation for you that this is happening, and it's going to be continued with stuff that they're showing you. But we need to remove ourselves. Like you said.
They keep talking about there's going to be another lockdown because of the variant from Canada, whatever. And another mask mandate. First of all, I hope Canada doesn't comply. They're crazy if they do. I hate to say it that way, but they are. And who in the States? Who in the world is going to comply with this nonsense anymore?
Well, I'll tell you, and somebody else yesterday posted, and again, last night I was just playing catch up, and somebody said, oh, I'm not going down in lockdown. I go, well, I really am not either. However, they have a vaccine out again. But my thing with the vaccine is I get a pneumonia shot, right? Because I had pneumonia when in my 30s, and it was like 6 years running, and it really beat me up. So I have the predisposition to be able to get it again, and I don't. So I get that, and it comes out different every year. It comes out in form of what was out last year. So the type of pneumonia that came out last year. And it's the same with the flu shots. So this is kind of what it's going to be. I think it's going to be just like that. It's going to be, excuse me, a COVID shot, just like it will with a cold or sinus, any of
them. Not doing it. Not doing it. Not getting jabbed. I'm not their science experiment. Nope.
Well, I can tell you, I had kids that were here 2 weekends ago, and they were sitting on my couch, and my daughter was laying there. She was miserable. She had a really bad cold. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't smell. Her friend was like, her throat was hurting. I looked at both of them, and David had been sick as well at home. And they all, because her little sister's living with both of them right now. And I said, y'all got COVID. And I was sitting in the chair, right?
Especially if you can't taste.
Yeah. I said, you got COVID. I said, go in the bathroom. Oh, we don't have COVID. I go in the bathroom. I said, I got shit tons of those, things you jab up your nose. I said, go test it. No. Well, they didn't want to know, right? So she went home Saturday, which never happens. That's how sick she was. So she went back home, and Monday she gives me a call. Bob. I said, what? I said, what's the matter? I said, you're still feeling like crap? She says, yes. On Monday, right? I said, really? She goes, yes. And I just got off phone with the other gal that was up here with her. She says, and she just took herself to the walk-in clinic, and she's got strep and COVID. I know I told you guys are so stupid, but I kept telling them vitamin C, and she was drinking and taking vitamin C and echinacea and whatever she could do to boost, right? But she wasn't hungry or anything. She goes, it's not the flu. I said, Taylor, when I had COVID, my stomach was upset. So yeah, it is kind of all tied together. So yeah, that's not going away. That's just not going away.
No, they're not going to let that go away, and it's just going to always be something else. Just like the flu changes every year, so is this. It's going to change every year. Something you just gotta, wash your hands and don't be going out sick and getting other people sick.
Well, that was a big thing too. You watch. A friend of mine had said that she was getting a lot of people were going to be going to their class reunion, right? Because it was like the 45th or the 50th, something like that. And I said, hell no. I said, how many people were in your class? She says 250 or something like that. And I had a really small, I only had 128 in my class. And I said, there's no way I'd go to that. I wouldn't even be going to concerts. I wouldn't be doing any of that if it was available. I just wouldn't. And, I don't want to get other people sick, and I don't want to be sick. So,
right. Yep. Okay. None of that.
So here's something that I thought would be a good thing to switching. I didn't plan on getting on this, but that's okay. It's important. Over the weekend, I went into a group that were trying to, actually, it was a benefit for somebody that had breast cancer. And I paid because I wanted to be able to help in some small way because she's being hit with so many bills. And I went in, and the only reason I even went in was because one of the mediums that was there, I had never even heard of her, but I really got a good vibe from her, and I just wanted to see how she worked. It was funny because she actually works the way I do. But so she started reading, and we were about the third or fourth in, and she'd start bringing something through and then put it up to the people, and then if somebody resonated with somebody, they'd raise their hand, and so she starts reading for this woman, and the woman raised her hand. She says, yeah, it sounds like my nephew, and she's going on, and she goes, well, yeah. And she says, but I wasn't really close with him because he lived in another state, and all this stuff. And I was kind of paying attention because some of the stuff she was saying was like making the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And I was like, oh my God, seriously? And I hadn't gone in there for a reading. And she didn't even see me. When she was halfway through it, I raised my hand. She didn't even see me. And that's fine. I didn't care about it. The information that I got off. I didn't even stay for the whole 2 hours that they were on. And I called Miss Robin, and it was her boys coming through. It was so clearly her boys. So I sat and I talked to her, and it resonated, and there was stuff going on. It fit. Okay, so then I was thinking, one of the biggest things that people, especially people that are starting out to read, or that don't, like, you've been doing it for years, I've been doing it for years, and I'm not saying it's easy, but we have a rhythm. Yeah.
Right, right.
So people that are starting out are like, we get these wild visions, or we feel like this person or this, yeah, well, they were people when they were living here. The spirit comes in and they're like knocking on my door, saying, hey, we want you to know. Or they follow because they know they're going to see whoever it is that I'm going to come across. And they said, what is the purpose of that? Like, I mean, and these couple people were like, we just feel so insecure with it, because what if it isn't their message? I said, but what if it is? Or what if it's for somebody that they know, right? I said, it doesn't have to be, it's not for us, it's for other people.
Right, right, exactly.
So I don't know. What do you think about that? Because I know there's a lot of, all these big fancy mediums all over the place reading and stuff, and that's cool and it's great. But the purpose of it for me is we need to instill some faith and hope for people.
Right, exactly. Exactly. That's what I feel. And what I tell people when I'm doing readings, especially when they want to ask things where, uh, it could change. It can change. And the thing is, spirit will tell you what you're meant to know right here, right now. You're not meant to know everything right this minute.
Right.
If you knew in advance, let's just say you knew in advance that a relationship wasn't going to work. Well, you just wouldn't even try. But you're meant to be in that relationship to gain something from it so that you can grow, so that you're ready then for a better person to come into your life. That works in so many different ways, jobs and all relationships. We are meant to have certain experiences.
Right.
Otherwise, how do we grow? How do we gain knowledge? Right? So, there's some things where I can see someone, if they're talking about relationship, is this the one? And I'm like, I know it's not the one, but if you tell them it's not the one, they just immediately shut down on that relationship.
Yeah.
You're meant to be in this for this moment.
Yeah.
And when you find the right one, you're never going to ask anybody else their opinion, whether or not it's the right one or not,
Well, yeah. And I think too, though, right now, at least with me, I've been not on purpose focusing, but more stuff that comes for me through my private readings and stuff is mediumship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes when it comes through, and I tell people this all the time, that it's not going to take away the grief from missing somebody in the human, but it's going to give you a little bit of faith and hope that, yeah, you know what? They are around us. And again, that goes back to the conversation we were having. People either believe or they don't believe. People are science people or they believe it. But I do think that when stuff comes, I just find it so fascinating when other people pick up, well, I know a friend of mine had blah, blah, blah. And that's okay. That can come through like that. And a lot of people are like pushing it off like, oh, I don't know that. I don't know anybody by that name, or I don't. And then what'll happen is 2-3 weeks later, they'll email me and say, holy crap.
Right. Or they didn't realize, or maybe that person hadn't come into their life yet, and suddenly there they are in front of them. So yeah, that happens as well, and it opens them up to new possibilities. And you have to understand, we're never going to tell you that your loved ones are miserable on the other side, because they're not.
Yeah.
Don't ask us, is my loved one okay? Yeah, they're way better than we're doing right now.
Well, and I think it's, for me, it's rather amusing when some of them kind of how they show themselves to me. And I look at the case of my brother, and my brother didn't know what hit him. He was out walking the dog to go to the dog park, and he was dead before he hit the ground. And I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but he had a massive heart attack. He had no
Right.
heart issues, no nothing. And he actually died the same age as my father that adopted me did. So his dad at the same age. So there's a predisposition for it, but he just dropped. Like, there was no planning. There was no, oh my God, I'm sick. He just dropped. And they literally said, the people at the park said, he hit the sidewalk. He was already dead, because they went up and touched him and checked, and then they were doing that while somebody was calling 911. And yeah, I think that leads to panic sometimes on this side where we're still in Earth type life. And I think a lot of times when they come through, at least it's the way it's been for me, is because they want to validate to people, hey, I'm okay. I didn't plan it.
Right. Right.
I didn't
Right.
want to go, but I'm okay.
Exactly.
And I think that takes a lot of that.
I remember this lady I was friends with. Her brother had died in a bad car accident, and it left them all questioning of what really happened. And he came through for her, and he told them exactly what happened. He was going too fast, way too fast, overcorrected, and when he overcorrected, he went off into the field, through a tree into the field, and that was the end of it. But he was okay. He was fine, and he wanted to make sure she understood and give her that validation that it wasn't anything that was done on purpose. There was no malicious anything. It was just an accident.
Sometimes when stuff happens quick like that, or even in children, that was a big thing when I was working at Children's Hospital. You look at the kids that pass and the ages. I mean, they can be from preemies to 18-year-olds who've been there at the hospital with their heart since they were born, same docs. And I remember people always saying, how could God allow this? How could God allow this to happen? How could God allow somebody to die that way? How could, and it's not about that. It's just not. And you have to look at, and I actually told this to a parent the other day, you have to look at the joy and happiness you had in whatever length of time that a person is here. I mean, right. Everybody goes through a loss at some time in their life, right? Whether it's parent, grandparent, sometimes it's kids, sometimes it's spouses, but we all go through it. And I always say we're guaranteed that. So that's why we need to make the most of our time on this planet, not in turmoil that we cause, not in drama that we cause, but we need to let that go.
Right. And just let all of it go. Some people say it's not that easy, but it is. Your brain, you are doing it to yourself. You're hyper focusing on a bad moment that happened, and you're ignoring all the rest of everything that went on.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You keep taking yourself back to the past. You're doing it. The world isn't doing that to you. You're doing it to yourself. So you got to refocus your brain, retrain your brain to stop looking back.
Also, they need to retrain their brain to relax and breathe, because a lot of times they're so, like you say, super focused, pinpoint focused. I want a sign. I want to know it. And it's this big dramatic thing they want to happen. Meantime, their loved ones on the other side are dropping 1,000,001 clues that, hey, we're here. And they could literally probably jump in front of some of these people and they still would see it.
No, they're hyper focused in the wrong direction and trying to see and sense and hear in the wrong way. You're not going to be able to do it in the physical way. You have to do it in an energetic way.
Lori Vaughn, same happened to my mom's dad, slumped over on her shoulder and mass fire. Yeah, I always say this, and I don't mean it cruelly to anybody that's lost people like that. If I go, that was to me.
Right, yeah, ideal. Let me go like my dad did in his sleep, just like that.
It's like That would be the ideal way that if I could choose, that would be the ideal
Yeah,
way.
I wouldn't want to be sick for a long time and have a lot of long time suffering. Just let me go.
Well, and that's something too. When people are sick with a disease, okay, that goes long term, um, a lot of times they're so focused on cures and fixing them. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be focused on that somewhat, but you also need to understand, well, okay, so we've been given an expiration date, right? And whether we want to accept that expiration date is up to us. But instead of fussing and fighting like siblings do around their parents or their grandparents, whatever, people in their families, it's always drama, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy the time that you're here. I had a nurse that I worked with actually up here at this hospital back in 2001, I think it was. She came in and she was working in the hospital, working on the floor, and she wound up not feeling good one time, and they came in and they found out, like over a period of a month, that she had pancreatic cancer, which is, I won't lie, that's like a kiss of death within the medical field because there's really nothing they can do to fix it. And she was in the hallway in the x-ray department, and I had come out of one of the rooms, and she was crying, and I walked over to her. I said, "What's the matter?" She says, "They think they found more cancer on my lungs, but they also told me I have pancreatic cancer and that I'm lucky if I live 3 more weeks." And I said, "Okay." And I looked at her. I said, "So you accept that?" She goes, "I'm scared." She goes, I've got so much to fix and get ready before that happens." I says, "Okay, so why are you taking their word for it, right? Why are you accepting that result?" She said, "Well, it's pancreatic cancer." I said, "Go down to Carmanos, talk to them down there, see what they say." So she did. She got in, and they said 3 months. Okay. She come back and she found me in the hospital, and she says, "They told me 3 months." I go, "Again, are you going to accept that?" And she says, "I don't understand." I go, "Well, if you keep telling yourself you're going to be dead in 3 months, you're probably going to be dead in 3 months.
Right, exactly. Your reality is exactly what you believe it to be.
She lived 3 more years. She walked her daughter down the aisle and she danced at her daughter's wedding. Yes, in a wheelchair, but she was there and she got to do it. She died 3 years later. Actually 3.5, because that wasn't even including what the doctor. Her doctor from Carmanos, which is a huge, well-known cancer institute within the Detroit Medical Center, he came to the funeral and he told everybody she is a walking miracle. We can't tell you how she did it. And I said, "I can. It was faith in herself."
Yeah.
Because we store crap. Like with my back that I've had problems with all my life, it's where I store all my anger or my disappointment or my
trauma.
Yeah. And so what I did was literally I made myself sick. And people, you don't realize how much you have control over your body.
Yeah.
And it's
like, enormous.
Yeah.
It's like Stacy and her recent, they found those. There were 4. There was a mass, a cyst, and 2 tumors. And she was like, she was going to have surgery. She was so worried. She's a single mom. She's the only one paying the bills. She don't have time or money to take off work to have this done. And then she changed her mind. She said, "I'm going to do the castor oil and it's going to work. I'm not going to need surgery." And she put that on every single day, saying to herself, "This is going to work. I'm not going to need surgery." 3 weeks later, when she went to the surgeon to schedule the surgery and they did their scan, it's all gone. Yeah. Gone. No sign of it.
And think about that, because if you go back like to Egyptian times or even before that, or different sections of the world, they all had their medicine people or their whatever they call them, priests, priestesses, witches, whatever, it was white witches or whatever. And they all did stuff like that. They didn't have medicine like we do today. They had
Andrea, that's what it was.
Yeah. Oh.
She did it every day for 3 weeks,
Yep.
and it didn't shrink them. They're gone. Like there's not even a sign that they were there. They're gone.
Okay, Lori's had her third cancer surgery a week ago. There you go. And figure out and imagine. And this is what I tell everybody. You imagine yourself whole and healthy, and you just get up every day. I'm whole. I'm going to be. I'm not. I'm going to be. I am healthy, and you keep feeding that to your body. And I don't know how it works. It just does. So, like I said, if you go back, I found this really interesting. Cleopatra was immensely intelligent, and a lot of the stuff she wrote was about herbs and plants and gems and stones and crystals and how they would help us heal. And they said there's only 2 pieces that she actually wrote that are still around because they were lost when the fire took the big library out in Alexandria. But to think if there were a few people like her thinking about how to do this, it's got to be something to it.
Right.
Even the crystals, like carrying crystals around for different things, they can be charged. They can have intent put into them. Any of the stones and crystals that we use. So yeah, it's just really, really. Yeah. Oh, she's talking about the castor oil. Yeah. Oh, that's tough too. I've had people with that as well. And actually, that's why I went down to Carmanos last year, was to check. Hi, Chloe. I heard Kat was here too. She went because she had a headache. She took off. So hi, Kat, if you're listening still. Lots of quartz. Yeah, many crystals I carry as well. Well, Lori, here's my question to you to give back to us. What kind of crystals or rocks or gems do you use? Because sometimes, like clear quartz, will amplify an issue. And sometimes, I don't know. What do you think about that, Holly? I'm not really.
Say that again.
Sometimes clear quartz will magnify an issue.
I think if the issue needs to be magnified, that's what it's going to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it could be any stone. If an issue that you're focusing on needs something particular, it needs to be magnified or it needs to be just gone or whatever, that crystal is going to help with whatever that is. And if it's magnified, it's because you really need to correct whatever it is or fix whatever it is or pay attention to whatever it is, or there's something you got to do. It's magnifying it to bring it to your attention to say, hey, this is important. This is really important right now.
I've got, and you can't see it, but it's a big boulder quartz, right? A clear quartz. And it's like it was tumbled, but it's huge. I literally slept with that thing for 2 years. And it took care of what I had intended.
I keep big clusters of crystals are all under my bed, lined up with my body. And so I'm sleeping over them every night.
Yeah.
I've done that for years, for a long time.
That's kind of cool. So do we charge them or put the intent in before you stick them, or do you clear?
It depends on the crystal, really. It really does. I listen to my crystals. Some of them don't want to be charged all the time. They don't want to be out in some of them want to be charged by the moon.
Yeah.
It's really individual depending on the crystal. You have to hold that crystal and then listen and really feel what it wants you to do. If you're holding that crystal and it's a full moon, and it's at night, and something's keeping you from going outside with that crystal, then it doesn't want to be out there. Maybe it wants to be charged by the sun and not the moon. Maybe it wants to be charged by water.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to do it. Maybe it just needs smudging.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to listen to, and that's not just with crystals, that's with any tools that you use on a regular basis. Your cards need cleansing from time to time.
Oh yeah.
Some people cleanse after every single reading. Some people don't necessarily do it after every reading, but ever so often. It's completely up to you, but you have to sense and know when time is right.
What does it say? Have you ever used a pyramid to charge your crystals?
I have not, but I do have one of those oregonite pyramids that I put in different places depending on where it wants me to put it. But I do want to build one of those copper pyramids for meditation. I want to do that so bad. I just haven't been able to do it yet.
What is it?
What?
I've never heard of a copper pyramid.
Well, copper is
know.
harnesses the energy.
Right.
First of all, is super healing, and the pyramid is you're going to sit right under that pyramid, or you can make a small one to charge your crystals under that pyramid. It just directs all the energy from the air to those crystals or to you.
Okay, I've seen pyramid shaped stones.
And it's just like electroculture, where they're using copper now in the garden. I used it this year in the garden. The copper wasn't my issue with the garden this year. It's the soil. If you're buying soil, you better add some additives to it, because they have made the soil now, the bag soil. I am thoroughly convinced, because the chicken feed thing was spot on. Because our chickens stopped laying eggs. When we changed food, they started laying eggs again. But anyway, the soil, it doesn't have any nutrients in it whatsoever. So people's gardens are failing.
That's crazy. Well, I know that.
But they're doing that on purpose. It's purposely being done. They don't want us growing our own food. They don't want us to sustain ourselves.
Yeah, well, and that makes sense, especially with all the crap that's going on now. This little tiny crystal right here. I mean, this is tiny. That's how big they are. That's a big one, actually. The other ones I have, it's called zincite, and it only comes.
That too, Jessica.
Yeah, and it comes from Poland. Here's another piece, and that's the only place you can get it from is Poland.
What is it?
Zincite, Zincite.
Oh.
And this stuff is so powerful in the little, and I mean, you do some history about it, it's very strong, and it brings about, it amplifies your connection ability, your psychic or your mediumship, whatever. It magnifies it like 100 times. If you want to really dream and remember them, get a little piece of this, and it's not cheap. I've had this piece since like 2001, I want to say. And I've given some of the pieces to people that have come up to see me or whatever. And I think I told you guys one time, a friend of mine, I gave her a piece of it, and she was a psychic, and she went home and called me like a week later, and I said, hey, what's up? She goes, I can't sleep. I haven't been able to sleep. I'm like, I go to bed and I'm like energized, and my eyes are, I go, yeah, that kind of is bad. I said, so you're not sleeping at all? She goes, no, I'm just worn out. And I was like, what did you do with that crystal I gave you? She goes, what crystal? I go, the little one, the tiny one. She goes, oh, I put it in my medicine pouch. I go, oh, and where do you put your medicine pouch? Well, I have it under my pillow every night. I said, well,
you might want to move it.
And that's how strong it is. So, you know, a lot of them have, they have properties, but you also have to kind of program them to work with that particular property, how you need it to work.
Right. Andrea has a question about the castor oil. If it's bowel and pancreatic cancer, would you wrap the compress around the area? Yes. My daughter had one mass near her pancreas, and the other one was near her spleen. And I got her a large wrap that really went all the way around to side to side. And she wrapped that thing around and had it on. She overdoes everything. So she did it like almost all day, every day for 3 weeks. And you're supposed to do it like 3 to 5 hours. And if you add like heat to it, like a heating pad, you don't even need to do it that long.
Well, you can actually get those because I've had them for my back. They're
Oh, yeah.
actually a wrap, and you can either make them hot or cold, and you can add stuff into them. They're
Yep.
not really. They're about $12, but they wrap around like they'd wrap around your waist or part of your back or your
Yeah.
ribs.
I've
And
used
that
them
would
on
be
my
good.
back. I use it on my stomach. Putting castor oil on your belly button will help with all kinds of things if you do that every night. I put it on my eyelids at night, and it helps. You know, the little floaty things. It has reduced those greatly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I don't get those anymore though. You have your first piece of moldavite. Moldavite's pretty cool. That
Yeah,
was
I've got a piece of that.
Yeah, that Ann Rose, you remember Ann Rose? That was one of her favorite goes to was Moldavite. I don't know if I
You
have
just
any.
want Andrea's asking about the material for the it's just a thick cloth, basically is what it is, so that you don't get that oil all over your clothes.
Yeah, it's made out. The one I have
It's
is made out
cotton.
of cotton.
Right. It's
And
cotton, and then it has another fabric. It's cotton on the inside, and then another thicker fabric on the outside. It's just to help keep the oil on your skin and to keep it from rubbing off, and to keep it from getting all over your clothes, because it can, have oil stains on your clothes if you get it on them.
just wear a ratty T-shirt. That's what
Yeah. Like if you
Good
have that kind of cancer, you don't care if your shirt has oil on it. Just put it on there.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things, and I that's an old way. That's an old thing that people used to do a long time ago, and like before medicine was what it is, in the 1900s, even like towards the end, we were more than we were at the beginning. So if you look back to some of that stuff, I've got books on medicine from the Native American culture, how they use herbs and stones and different things. And I've done that stuff and it has helped. I mean, I've looked it up.
My husband and I were talking about all the different remedies that my grandmother used to use on us. Oh my word, there's so many. So yeah, I mean, we never went to the doctor. My grandmother never went. None of the family. It was very rare if we went to the doctor. Grandma took care of us.
Yeah,
She's
and
the one.
that makes sense though. I mean, I think my grandmother, God, I loved my grandmother so much. She was just a stitch, but she wasn't a homemaker, if that makes sense, in that day and age, like in the 60s and 70s. She couldn't cook. She cooked obviously, but like pre-done food type thing.
Yeah.
And I've told the story over and over many times where I used to love going over there on Sunday because after dinner she'd let me have cookies and she'd bring that out and adults would get tea or coffee or whatever. And I would have cookies. And she was, oh yeah, I've been baking them all day. I've been busy, cooking and everything. And when you're 6 and 7, why would your grandmother lie about that? So I went into the kitchen and my grandfather was there and I just come strolling in, and it was different because the houses then were big, huge basement. That's where the furnace was. And it was a massive, monstrous furnace. But then they had the main floor and then they had an apartment floor on the top of the houses. The houses were really big. So I went in there and I was asking my grandfather if we could go down and get some root beer from the basement because that's where he stored it, right? And he's like, yeah. And my grandmother kept going, get out of here, get out of here. And she had her hands behind her back. I'm like, what do you got behind your back? Never you mind. You go with your grandfather and go downstairs. And I said, no, what do you got behind your back? We're going to eat cookies. You want us to bring up a root beer for you too? And my grandma was not. No, just go down with your grandfather. So we did. Well, I ran back up the steps because we didn't have to go far. And when I come in, she was unpackaging orange and lemon cookies from Ori's Bakery, that they sold at the grocery store.
Right, right.
What is that? I said, is that how you store your cookies? She goes, oh, shoot, get in the other room. Get in the other room. And I said, you didn't bake these. You bought them. I thought my grandfather was going to split his gut. We were laughing so hard. So she didn't have that kind of stuff. And my mom didn't either. My sister was a nurse, so we had more of that kind of stuff from my sister while she was alive. But if you go back into, like you go back into your grandparents and how they did things back then, you'll find stuff. They used to go to pharmacies too, right? Where the pharmacist actually mixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff like for your throat. I remember doing that as a
Yeah.
kid. Mom would take me down
My
and
grandmother had a remedy for everything. Everything. It
yeah.
didn't matter what it was. And it
I,
worked. All of them worked.
well, one for sleep. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I like making like a lavender salve. And all you do, it's it's salve, so it's kind of hard, and you warm it up, and it kind of melts in you. And I just would put it if I was having a hard time sleeping. I'd put it under my
And
nose.
on your temples and
Yep,
right here.
yep, and it works every time. So that's
Yep.
a real easy. That's something from way back
Well,
when.
lately I've been doing the wild yam cream to help balance my hormones.
Oh,
And
okay, yep.
let me tell you, it works. It is amazing. And
But
I'm
your
like,
husband's
wow.
happy for that.
Huh?
Bet everybody in the house is happy for that.
Wild yam? Whatever.
I gotta take them when I can get them.
Yeah, I see. I see how you are.
Oh my god, it's just crazy.
Wow.
So let's see, what's this? Oh yeah, yeah, it is.
Magic ointment. Yeah.
That's kind of what it is.
Yep.
Ruth, who's not here again.
She's never here on time. And watch her show up in the last 8 minutes.
Yeah, well, Ruth actually has made stuff like that and had stuff like that where she's used lavender. And this was like a long time ago. And there's actually Nawadi, Naadii. I've met him. He actually, which was really sad, and he's kind of dropped off of social media. His daughter was killed in a bad car accident, and she was like in her 20s. But he made the stuff like you're talking about. Like I don't want to call it ointment because you can't squeeze it out of a tube. It's kind of it's like a shoe polish can.
Yeah, like a salve.
Yeah, and you just open it and you rub your hands on it. Well, he made all kinds of stuff, and one of them he made was Dreamcatcher, and that's what he had in it was lavender. And
Oh, wow.
it was really good. They're very inexpensive. Nawadi Herbal. I actually had them in my studio. We used to sell a ton of it because they even had it for sunburn. There was but it was all the old recipes. His grandmother was also native, and that she had learned from her grandmother and her, all the way back. And that stuff's really important to kind of, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, I think everybody, we need to continue to pass down those old remedies because otherwise, I don't know where we're going because I don't believe that anybody else is going to tell us the truth.
No, I think that you're 100% right about what you said about the chicken feed. And
I know it is.
Yeah,
so when we changed feed, we went to the co-op and got feed because our chickens and when it was still warm, it wasn't winter yet, it was still cold. Still warm. The chickens just stopped laying eggs. We were getting at least a dozen a day, and it went down to maybe one or two if we were lucky. And so we changed food, and instantly they started laying eggs again. So the old food is still at the bottom of the barrel. So when our food gets low, some of that old food gets put back out to the chickens. And guess what? We know when because they stop laying eggs again.
That's crazy. Well, I'll go one step further with that.
That's a whole rabbit hole to go down. Oh my word.
Strange old beeswax. Oh, okay. I grow lavender. Oh yeah, I used
joint pain again. Castor oil will help all of your joints. Put a compress or wrap your joints, whatever joints are hurting. If it's your ankles, your knees, your elbows, or I don't care what it is, put castor oil on it.
Well, how you say about the chickens. Well, I was watching something this morning, and it was an old episode of something, and I was watching it, and I had actually forgotten about it. And it was about these mutilated cattle out in, I think it was New Mexico or like right around there, Utah, New Mexico. And it wasn't Skinwalker Ranch, but they were talking about how these cattle would be found, and they'd have like surgical cuts around their eyes or their groin area. The bulls, some of that was taken out, and they didn't know what was happening. Well, they kind of went in, the people went in to investigate it and stuff, and they found out that people were seeing helicopters in night vision, which would also lead you to believe that if they're using massive helicopters and the base was only 6 miles away, they were using like cloaking on it so that there were no lights coming from it. So they went out to see if this was true, and they saw a helicopter in night vision that was bumming around. Well, the cattle, and this is what a lot of people believe, and I will absolutely say that is 100% possible, that where they're located on these big areas of ranches out there and everything was where the military or the government blew off the first atomic bomb, which is freaking nuts.
Yeah.
Because wherever they put it, water, land, it's going to contaminate for a long time. They went out, they tagged, they put collars on some of the calves with like, so they could get their life signs or vitals, back on GPS.
Right.
And they found all of a sudden the cattle started running in the middle of the night, and they caught on camera a helicopter.
Yep.
What they think they're doing, and the government doesn't want us to know, because what's one of the biggest industries in the U.S. is beef.
They're trying to get us where we're not going to have any meat. No meat, no meat at all.
What they're doing is
that's their plan by 2030 or something. That we don't. There is no meat.
They're checking these cows for radiation all these years later, and they're checking them. And the guys that were working the science end of it went out, and the radiation Geiger was flying.
I bet.
So, how much the government does or how much it doesn't do, I think we are being pushed back into growing our own, raising our own, taking care of our own.
Yep.
So going back to the old ways, I think is actually a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just that who has the skills these days? The young people don't have a clue.
No.
I mean, I think our generation is the end of the knowledge base. Anyone beneath us, they don't know.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know. It's like it's so deep seated. That's why what I said to you yesterday when I saw that gal over in Hawaii talking to the big corporate people, like, you're going to stop doing this. You can't do this. I think people have to kind of raise up, and we have to start taking control of our own lives anymore. And if that means learning to have chickens or whatever we have,
growing our food, whatever we need to do. Yeah.
Vegetables and stuff, you can do that. That's not hard. You put some seeds down into it, or I think I would do seeds rather than going and buying something, because I think that can be controlled too, like the chicken.
Oh yeah, it's 100% controlled. And you gotta be careful where you get your seeds as well. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous the amount that they have infiltrated and how they're trying to destroy. What they're trying to lower the population. That's the end of it right there.
Yeah, and that's not really a deep dive down a rabbit hole. That's kind of sort of the truth when you look at things and start putting them together. It's like that's really the only answer that there is, unfortunately.
Right.
So that's why we have to depend more on ourselves. We have to be more open-minded.
Well, if there are fewer of us, it's easier for them to control us, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Not me, though. I
do what I want to do.
I'm a whistleblower, always have been all my life, so I'm not going to allow, especially, and I hate to say this, and I'm sorry for all the men that may be listening to this now or in the future, but I'm tired of old rich white men running the country and running the world. I'm just over it. So women and people who matter, we all matter. So stand up and let's get hold of everything that's going on.
Hey,
Go back
Sue,
to the metaphysical.
switch over to Alaskan salmon oil and you'll see a huge difference. It's even better than the cod.
I I can't eat fish.
I don't like anything that's too fishy.
Salmon. When I first started living up here, my birth mom's husband, I called him Papa. He'd go fishing every single day from June to the end of August, and he'd be bringing massive salmon home, and they're allowed to catch 5 a day. That's when we had salmon in the lake. We don't have salmon in the lake right now because they were fished out of existence. But we do, and it would be like he'd go out twice a day, so it'd be 10 salmon. He'd gut them for me, but then I had to skin them and I had to clean them, and I can't even stand the smell. I can cook them for somebody, but I can't. It's got to be on the grill. So no, not fish for me.
I hate cooking fish in the house. The whole house will smell like fish. No, has to be on the grill.
We had an American Air Show here in the week. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm glad you got to see them, but 2 weekends ago here in Michigan, they were having a flyover and an air show down in Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area, and they had a major crash.
Crash. It was terrible.
I've been to 2, not that one, but I've been to 2 other ones over years because we used to have a base. They closed it now. But we had a base up here, and the one year I went, because my friends were like, "Oh, come on, we're gonna have a party, it crashed that time." And then down in Selfridge, which is downstate as well, where I lived, they also had a crash. So no more air shows for me. I'm over it. Well, here we go. So I can't believe we're over an hour already. And
I know.
Blessings to all of you for staying on, and we love you, and we'll see you next time. And again, if you guys have ideas of what you want to talk about, just let us know.
As you can tell, we'll talk about anything.
Yeah, we just have fun, whatever. Yep. All right. Well, we love you guys. You have a great weekend coming up. And until next Wednesday, we'll see you. Bye.
Have a good one.